Hey, boys and girls. So here we are for our Writer's Workshop mini lesson on how to create a book cover for an anthology. Now, an anthology is a collection, and we actually looked at some anthologies in our physical classroom before we left for our coronavirus shelter in place, and I've got them with me here at the house. So we looked at poems to learn by heart, and if you remember, there were lots and lots of different poems inside this book. Another anthology or collection of poems was Dirty Laundry Pile, and it had lots of different poems inside of it. And then the third one I want to talk about this morning was 1 Minute Till Bedtime. Some of you actually chose from this book when you were memorizing your poems. And again, lots and lots of poems inside. Well, you have also written lots of poems, and it's time for us to actually publish those poems. At the beginning of the shelter in place, we just quickly grabbed our poems, shared them with me, and sent off, and we went into our next unit of opinion writing. But now that we're finished with opinion writing, we need to come up with some book covers so that I can print out your poems with color covers for your books, and I can bind them to make them into real books and give them to you. So let's look at some book covers. So here's Caroline Kennedy's book cover, Poems to Learn by Heart. And some really interesting things to notice is that it's not just called Carolyn's Poetry Book. She actually came up with a different title. She decided that these were all pretty short poems, so they could be ones that we learned by heart. So she came up with the title of Poems to Learn by Heart. And then here's a second one, 1 Minute Till Bedtime. Again, not just somebody's poetry book, but it has like a little title on it, 1 Minute Till Bedtime. And then down here, there's a subtitle, and it tells us a little bit more. So 1 Minute Till Bedtime, and they are 60-second poems to send you off to sleep. So that's another interesting option for creating book covers. And then the last one I want to show you has a really silly name. So silly titles work too. This one is Dirty Laundry Pile. Has nothing to do with poetry, does it? But they put a subtitle as well. But they came up with a silly name for their book cover. So really, what I'm telling you is there's no particular rule when you're creating your book covers. The only thing I would notice is none of them say Mrs. Hostetler's poetry book. So let's try and come up with some ways to create a book cover and to attach it to our Google Classroom assignment. So here I am, I'm in my Google Drive, and I'm going to create a new doc. And of course, we already know that we go over here to the side with that rainbow plus sign, and I'm going to open up a Google Doc. And I'm just going to create it in the same folder here. And after I'm done, I'm going to attach it to my Google Classroom. So because I want Mrs. Hostetler to actually be able to tell whose it is without opening it up, I'm going to make sure that the title of my document has my name in it. So I'm going to say Mrs. Hostetler's Poems. But just like in the books that we looked at, Poems to Learn by Heart, 1 Minute to Bedtime, and Dirty Laundry Pile, I'm going to give my book a different title. So I want to make sure that I'm using a font that I enjoy using. I want to make sure that I'm using a nice big font. I can always change it later. And I'm going to start with my title. I wrote a lot of books about colors and the world and sunshine. So maybe I'm going to see Seeing the World Through Poetry. Maybe that's going to be my title. I can always change it later, and I can return, and now I can put in my name, by Michelle Hostetler. Oh, look, that is really too big. It went into a second page. So this is where I kind of need to play around. And I think I'm going to put my my author's name, I'm going to make that a little bit smaller. So maybe I'll try 60. Oh, still too big. Let's try another one. Let's try maybe 36. Oh, yes, that looks much better. Seeing the world. I think I'm going to change this a little bit more. Seeing the world we live in. And then, instead of through poetry, I think I'm going to use a subtitle and make that a little bit smaller. Poems from 4th grade. That's going on the other line, but I like the size of that font, so I'm actually going to change it to 4th. Poems from 4th grade. Looks like I do need to make it a little tiny bit smaller. So let's go down one more. Let's go to 36. Poems from 4th grade by Michelle Hostetler. And I'm going to move my name down as far as I can without, making it go on the other page. So I'm going to change this to 36 also because that'll allow me a little bit more. Whoops. There we go. Seeing the World We Live In. Poems from 4th grade by Michelle Hostetler. And now I need to really kind of play around with my words, and I need to decide if I want to have it left aligned, center aligned, right aligned. I think I'm going to do this center aligned. I think my subtitle, I will also do that center aligned. And then just because I think it might be super interesting, maybe I'll put my author's name and I'll do it right aligned. When you do yours, you can choose anything that you want. And then I can put an image right here in the center somewhere. So let me go ahead and insert image, search the web. Since my title is Poems from the World We Live In, maybe I'll look up world. I think earth. Let's look up earth. Maybe I can find something really interesting. Ooh, I like this one because of the white background, but I really like this one because it's close up. Oh, this one's perfect, I think. So I'm going to choose that one. I'm going to insert it in. Oh, I love it. It's great. I do need to make some more changes. Like, I think I'm going to center this. So I'll put that in the center. I think I'm going to delete that line, see if I can delete another line, see if I can get my name back up there. Aha, there we go. Seeing the World We Live In, Poems from 4th grade. I love it. I'm going to leave my book cover just like this. Now that I have finished creating my book cover for my poetry anthology, the next thing I need to do is just attach it to my Google Classroom. Normally, you guys use the 4th grade one, but since that's the teacher version, I need to actually use a classroom that I am a student in. So it's the same process, just a different classroom. So I'm going to classwork and I'm going to my assignment that needs to have my assignment turned in. And when I view it, let me go back and show that again. I went pretty quick. I opened it up and I have to view my assignment. And I'm going to click the Add or Create from my Google Drive. Now, if it's the last thing that you worked on, it should show up immediately. If you need to put in your search for it, you can search for it up here. But I found it right away. It's right there. So I highlight it and I add that assignment. And you can see that Google is working and they got it attached there. Okay, I'm not done yet. I need to actually turn it in so that Mrs. Hostetler, my teacher, can see that I've turned it in. So I got to click Turn In, Turn In. And now I am going to be finished with creating my book cover for my poetry anthology, attaching it to Google Classroom, and turning it in.